How's it going, everybody? This is Troy, Half Court Report YouTube channel. So glad you could join me for today's video talking about Damian Lillard and could we see a potential trade for Dame? Could he be waving goodbye to Portland? You know, people are saying because the Trail Blazers lost in the first round of the playoffs, because they don't really have that championship team, that Dame Lillard is, going to be wanting to get traded, demand a trade elsewhere. Kevin O'Connor with The Ringer, he says Miami, Sacramento, Houston, New York, and Philly have been the most aggressive suitors for a trade for Damian Lillard. If Portland does decide to trade Damian Lillard, these reports are saying that it's going to have to be a huge haul. Something similar to James Harden is what Kevin O'Connor is saying. So lots of draft picks, lots of young players. That is what Portland would want in a trade for Damian Lillard. So I'm going to use TradeNBA.com to do some of these fake trades for the Knicks, Sixers, Heat, whatever other teams I want. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you are subscribed so you never miss my NBA content. Do videos like this all the time. So here we are, Portland and New York. So Damian Lillard, like $40 million on that contract. In order for this to be, I think, a feasible trade for Portland, they're going to, of course, they would want back R.J. Barrett. You would trade him to Portland. I would think they would probably want even players like maybe Obi Toppin. I would definitely think Emmanuel Quickly would be a guy that they would want as well. So those are all, small contract players, all still on their rookie contract. So you'd have to throw in some bigger money. For instance, like Julius Randle potentially going to the Blazers. And even still, you may be a little bit short money-wise, but I don't know that this would make a whole lot of sense for the Knicks, really, because you have Damian Lillard, and who else do you have? You have Damian Lillard, you have Mitchell Robinson, and really not a whole lot else, because maybe even Portland would want the Knicks 2 first-round draft picks as well, and that is just going to completely decimate New York's roster. For Portland, you have, you would still need, well, I was going to say you'd still need that point guard. I guess you would put Emmanuel Quickly at the point guard spot, and then you'd have Quickly, McCollum, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and then Nurkic as your starting 5. I don't know that really does a whole lot for you. So I don't see a good trade for the Knicks. If you guys can think of anything, let me know. So let's reset this. Let's do Portland and Philly, because Philly was another team that was interested. So I think a trade with Portland and Philly, that's going to begin and end with Ben Simmons. So put Damian Lillard to the Sixers. Ben Simmons, put him to the Blazers. I would think they'd probably want a guy like Matisse Thybulle as well. Here's the thing. Portland is going to be in the driver's seat with any trade, because if a team wants Dame bad enough, then they're going to give up whatever Portland wants, really. And probably you would think a pick of some sort. So, let's just say the 28th pick in the first round of this year's draft. And then you're looking at, for Portland, Ben Simmons, C.J. McCollum, Matisse. Those guys would be in the starting lineup, and I guess Robert Covington, and then Nurkic, Zach Collins filling out the roster. For the Sixers, I like this trade a lot for them because you'd have Damian Lillard, you would have Danny Green is expiring, so you need somebody there at the 2 spot, maybe Seth Curry. Then Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. I mean, really solid lineup for Philly. I don't know that Portland would do that. This all depends how much Portland wants Ben Simmons. Um, so if they want him, it's going to be a pretty easy trade to make happen. But if not, it might be a little bit more difficult. Okay, let's cancel this out. And let's try Miami, who is another team interested in Portland. Portland's Damian Lillard. With this, the Heat have a lot of players, but are you going to trade Jimmy Butler? No. Are you going to trade Bam Adebayo? Probably not, but I would think that if Bam is not included, discussions would not even get past the first 30 seconds of a conversation. I would think that Miami would want to include guys like Tyler Hero, Andre Iguodala's expiring, Goran Dragic is expiring, something along those lines. That is not going to get it done at all. I would think that Portland would demand Hero and Adebayo, and I think that's fair because Damian Lillard is like top 5 MVP candidate. I don't know if he was officially in the rankings for top 5 this past year, but he's always in the conversation. I don't see how a trade with Miami would happen either, especially because I think they would be reluctant to trade Adebayo. But if that were the case, I would love to see C.J. McCollum, Bam Adebayo, Robert Covington, Nurkic. I mean, that's a solid team. Again, does it really catapult you that far into the Western Conference? I don't know that it does, but I think that's definitely an offer that Portland would mull over if Adebayo was included. Let's look at Sacramento, because Sacramento was another team interested in Damian Lillard, and I was just thinking about what all Sacramento has to offer, and they have a lot of young players. So of course you're going to trade Dame to the Kings. I would think you could trade someone like De'Aaron Fox to the. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is definitely going to be involved in this. Would be involved in a Kings trade. You would think that Sacramento would want to keep Tyrese Halliburton and would want to keep Marvin Bagley. You would think that Sacramento is more so inclined to trade draft picks. They have the number 9 pick in this year's draft, and probably even some future picks as well. So De'Aaron Fox, a bunch of picks, and then probably the contract of somebody like Harrison Barnes, maybe Buddy Hield to make the numbers work. Maybe even throw somebody like, gosh, they don't really have too many other big contracts besides maybe throw in DeLon Wright as well. That isn't terrible for Portland, I don't think, because then you're able to rebuild that roster around De'Aaron Fox. You have C.J. McCollum still. We haven't even talked about possibly re-signing Norman Powell. We haven't talked about Nasir Little, if he can actually show us something in the league. But then you'll still have Robert Covington, Yusuf Nurkic. For Sacramento, though, what does this do for them? What does this do for them in the Western Conference? Because granted, yeah, I'm sure it would get them back to the playoffs and that 15-year-long drought of no playoffs. But does it do a whole lot? You have Damian Lillard. You would probably assume, whether Buddy Hield's included or not, you would probably have Damian Lillard and Tyrese Halliburton as your starting backcourt. Harrison Barnes, if he's not included in the trade, Marvin Bagley, and then whoever they want to have at that center spot. Rashawn Holmes is a free agent, so maybe they would re-sign him. Maybe they get somebody else in that center spot. So any of those, any of those players would, be good for Sacramento, but I don't know if it's enough to really catapult them into the conversation for championship. And Damian Lillard, is he just going to go from being unhappy in Portland to being unhappy in Sacramento. And then finally, we have to do a Warriors trade because I've been seeing so much about the Warriors being interested or potentially making a move for Damian Lillard. So in a case like this, this would center around James Wiseman and the 7 and 14 picks and maybe the contract of somebody like Andrew Wiggins. That would give Portland CJ McCollum and James Wiseman as their two cornerstones, and then a bunch of draft picks along with their own pick, and then assuming they'll be bad enough next year to get another high pick. So that's an option for Portland. And then for Golden State, you would have Steph Curry and Dame in the backcourt. You'd have Klay Thompson coming back from injury. He'd be at 3. You'd have Draymond Green at the 4. And then Kevon Looney or player to be named later at that 5 spot. I mean, that's a killer deal for Golden State, of course, because you literally have 3 guys who can just pull up from a little past half court and bomb away. The shooting on that team would be unbelievable. The scoring on that team would be unbelievable. I think that would definitely put Golden State back in the conversation for another championship. It's just a matter of how interested is Portland in James Wiseman, and how willing is Golden State to give up on James Wiseman after a year. So there's lots of possibilities, lots of options for how this Damian Lillard trade could go. This is something that I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on in the coming months, just to kind of gauge how unhappy Dame is in Portland. But guys, I need you to tell me in the comments, do you think Dame is going to get traded? Where do you think he'll get traded if he does? Who would you want back in a Dame trade? Drop your fake trades in the comments, and I'll read through them, and we'll have us a fun little conversation going, fun little discussion. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. My name is Troy. This has been the Half Court Report. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.